Chris Wise here, and congratulations, you're now under contract. So if you're seeing this video, it means that we've successfully negotiated a contract on your home, and we are now looking forward to a smooth closing. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to make you aware of during this process so that you knew what to expect. First, now that we've agreed to everything and all the terms of the contract, we have done an execution date. Most likely that was today. If that is the case, then today is day 0 in the process. And if you remember from looking at the contract, most of the dates that we filled in or negotiated with the buyer were related to so many days after the execution date. So today is day 0. The next thing you'll ask me is, can you or should you still continue to show your home? And I would say yes, because just because we're under contract doesn't mean that these people might not change, or they might change their mind or do something. So we want to make sure that we continue doing the showings throughout the option period, unless you and I have decided that it would be best not to have those showings. The next thing would be they're going to schedule an inspection. So that's usually, depending on the size of your home, could be 3, 4, 5 hours for the inspector and most likely the buyers to be in your home. So I request that you and potentially your pets can leave, because you want to allow them to go through the home, look at everything that's in there, test all the light switches, test all the outlets, make sure that your tub holds water and all of those things, and they'll do that inspection. Then usually inspector either that evening after the inspection or the next day will get the full report over to the buyer. Then the buyer and the buyer's agent will work through the report and see if there's any items that need to be addressed or they want you to address. Now keep in mind, if we've negotiated a certain dollar amount and maybe we've told them we're not going to do any repairs, they might still come back to us and ask for those, but we can certainly decide at that point if you're willing to do any repairs based on the terms of the contract. Really, the contract is negotiated twice if you think about it. Once when we actually negotiated the price, and a second time when we negotiate those repairs. So hopefully we've had a smooth negotiation process and we can go through a smooth closing. So the next thing is, after they've requested those repairs after the inspection and they let us know what we want, we get to decide what we're willing to do at that price. So we decide that and we formally communicate that back to the agent, who then communicates back to the buyer. Then after that, your option period will expire. Normally that's 7 to 10 days after that execution date, but sometimes if we agree to repairs in advance of that, then the buyer will remove their unrestricted right to cancel. That's good news for us, because it may be on day 8 and we've agreed to repairs, and now they're going to take away their unrestricted right to cancel, which means that we're going to go into a pending status. At that point, I'm going to let you know no more showings. There's really no reason to have any more showings given that, because we've already agreed to repairs and now we're just waiting for loan approval. So that brings me to the next thing, which is the appraisal. So the appraisal happens usually after the inspection and the option period is ended, and that's something that the buyer pays for. The appraiser may be in your house maybe for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Rarely do the buyers actually come with the appraiser, but I have had times where the buyer did show up when the appraiser was coming. That appointment is made through CSS. So be prepared for that. If they do show up, then you might want to figure out if you can, go someplace else, or ask them if it's okay if you stay there in certain situations. So, but usually they'll take a couple of pictures. Your house does not need to be in show-ready condition. They will take pictures of all of the bathrooms, the family room, our living area, and the kitchen, and I think that's about it. Backyard, front yard, of course, as well, so exterior shots. But they'll use that in their appraisal, and they'll measure your house most likely, unless they've already measured your house in the past. I recently had an appraisal on a home, and the appraiser who'd done the refi was the one who was coming for the purchase, and so he didn't have to measure the house because he remembered it from last time. So occasionally they don't have to measure, but usually they will, and then it'll take, gosh, sometimes 3-5 days to get the appraisal back. And once that comes back, we'll hear from the buyer's agent. They'll let us know one of two things. It appraised and we're okay. They are not required to give us the dollar amount, and really it doesn't matter at that point. Or if it didn't appraise. And if it didn't appraise, then we would ask for a copy of the appraisal, because it would be my job at that point to work on figuring out why did it not appraise. Were the comps they used the right comps? Were there adjustments that were made that maybe were not, that were erroneous for that area? Maybe they weren't familiar with the market. just whatever we need to do to try to go through that and figure out what the value really should have been. Because occasionally we do get appraisers who don't know an area, and they might make an adjustment for an attribute of the home, either positive or negative, that may be outside of the realm of reality. And my job will be to help them figure that out. So depending on that outcome, we will then move towards a loan approval process, which is what the buyer has been working on all along, all the time that we've been in escrow. They've been working on getting that loan approved. So once we got the appraisal and we know that that is all taken care of, then the loan most likely will go into underwriting. Underwriting is just the review of the borrower's ability to pay. Also, the home itself, is the home able to qualify for the loan? And then that might take anywhere from 5 to 10 days. It really depends on the lender. Some lenders can get it done fairly quickly, in 3 days, 5 days. Some lenders are notorious and they take a long time. So hopefully we've got one that is going to be one that can get it done pretty quickly. And then once we've made it through the loan approval or underwriting process, we'll get the loan approval, which, yay, that's great, because that is the clear to close. And that means that we are ready to schedule that closing. We know when we're going to be closing, and everything is looking good. So what we will do is, if you are a relo seller, then your relo company will take care of the closing, so you should be fine. You won't have to worry about that. If you're not a relo seller, then the relo company is not in there, then you and your spouse, if you're married in the state of Texas, of course, you will need to both come to closing and sign off. So even if maybe only one of you is on the deed, since we are a community property state, both spouses need to come, or anybody who's on the deed if they're not related people, but they need to come and be able to sign off on that to transfer it over to the buyer. You will need a driver's license. You need to prove who you are with a photo ID. So if you don't have a driver's license, a passport will certainly take care of that. And I think that's about it. So usually that whole process takes anywhere from 30 to 45 days, and all of those terms have been negotiated within your contract. So go out, celebrate, have a great time. Your house is now under contract, and we are going to work with you towards a smooth closing. So we're excited. Congratulations, and thank you so much for trusting us with your real estate needs.